I'll remind Dave Barry that we're still live. Now, on Friday night at the Brandywell, two sides with title aspirations came face to face. Stephen Kenny's Derry City were unbeaten, while Drogheda went into the game having won at home to Cove the previous weekend. Adrian Eames was at the Brandywell.
Last season, en route to winning the league, Drogheda had the measure of Derry, winning all three tussles. The visitors started brightly and enjoyed plenty of possession, but Derry had an early shout for a penalty. Paddy McCourt got away from Ollie Cahill, but Joe Kendrick appeared to barge into the Derry winger inside the area. Despite the encouragement of the Derry players and the Brandywell faithful, Damien Hancock remained unconvinced. McCourt's great run brought to a shuddering halt. Cahill, but Joe Kendrick appeared to barge into the Derry winger inside the area. Despite the encouragement of the Derry players and the Brandywell faithful, Damien Hancock remained unconvinced. McCourt's great run brought to a shuddering halt. Cahill, but Joe Kendrick appeared to barge into the Derry winger inside the area. Despite the encouragement of the Derry players and the Brandywell faithful, Damien Hancock remained unconvinced. McCourt's great run brought to a shuddering halt. Kendrick appeared to barge into the Derry winger inside the area. Despite the encouragement of the Derry players and the Brandywell faithful, Damien Hancock remained unconvinced. McCourt's great run brought to a shuddering halt. McCourt, who Stephen Kenny maintains should be in the Northern Ireland squad, then carved out the first opening of the game, skipping away from Kendrick before driving the ball across the area. Miko Vilmunen in the Drogheda goal got the necessary touch as Mark Farren prepared to pounce. In what was a pretty even first half, Drogheda remained quite comfortable, although Ibrahima Ian Thiam picked up a yellow card for this challenge on Clive Delaney. A real battle of the giants at the Brandywell. Drogheda's only real chance of the half arrived just before half-time. Shane Robinson surged forward and got away from Stephen Gray. The ball broke to Stuart Byrne inside the area. He pulled it back for Adam Hughes, but the midfielder's shot was tame and straight at Gerard Doherty. The game was decided by 2 goals in as many minutes early in the second half. Stephen Gray picked out Owen Morrison, and his teasing ball into the area came off the unlucky Kendrick and ended up in the net. With the Brandywell rocking, Drogheda needed to respond, but instead fell further behind. Brian Shelley guilty of mistiming his challenge on Mark Farren. Referee Damien Hancock with no choice but to point to the penalty spot. Frustration for Paul Doolan. Farren only scored 4 league goals in all of last season. Already he has bagged 3. A confident penalty kick dispatched. Drogheda were rattled and pretty soon Thiam was seeing red. The big man from Dakar went down dramatically inside the area and then needlessly pushed over Peter Hutton. Thiam then had a thing or two to say to the ref, who promptly gave him his marching orders. 2-0 down and a man down. The game was up for Drogheda and for Thiam. Drogheda kept plugging away, but Derry had done the hard part. Guy Bates, who replaced Eamon Zaid, tried his luck, but his effort was poor. So 2-0 to Derry. Stephen Kenny is weaving his magic at the Brandywell again. Drogheda need to lift themselves and soon, or they're in danger of being left behind. Derry City 2, Drogheda 0.
Sends out a message, you know, that we're trying to get back to what it was a couple of years ago when Stephen was here, and that's what we've been aiming to do, is make the Brandywell a fortress again.
We all know it would be tough retaining the league, but as I said, there's a long way to go, and sure, we'll see.
We're just pleased that we got a good start, and 10 from 12 represents a good start for us, and you know, but I think we know that we still have a lot of improving to do. You know, we're still gelling together as a team, and we have a bit of work still to do.
Liam, Derry have made a really good start. I mean, I know Stephen says there that they have a lot of improving to do. If they do that, they'll surely be challengers.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, and it's that old thing. Newcastle were waiting for their Messiah to come back and waiting until they finally got a win or two, and Stephen Kenny's come back to Derry and kind of hit the ground running, and it's clearly working. And obviously Paul Doolan has to be sacked, I think. They only won the Setanta Cup in the league, and they've been beaten twice, so he's got to go. But I think partly what's going on, as well as Drogheda chopping and changing a bit, and the old cliche about it's hard to retain the title, maybe harder than winning it. But I think everybody else is out looking for the scalp as well. Everybody raises their game, from Rovers the first day up in United Park, and Derry. But Derry a good side, yeah, and Stephen Kenny's doing really well again.
Tony, from Drogheda's point of view, scoring goals seems to be the problem. I mean, they got the 3 against Cove, but they haven't scored in the other 3 games so far.
They haven't, but in fairness to Paul, I mean, he's had some horrific injury concerns over the first few weeks of the season. You know, he's had to play Stuart Byrne, who I think was one of the best midfielders in the league, at right back. Shelley, who was the player of the year, has had to move into centre back. They don't have Jason Gavin, they don't have Dan Connor. You know, Simon Webb retired late in the day. He signed Sean Prunty, obviously Sean had to retire, so all those things add up. And yes, they haven't settled into a rhythm, but I'm sure they will do. They're a very good side. It'll only be a matter of time before they get on the winning streak again. And
Dave, unfortunately I saddled Drogheda with my tip for the title at the start of the season, but as Tony says, I mean, surely they'll be there.
They'll get it right, I think. Again, you know, we were talking last year about their back four. It was where they was solid, very solid, weren't giving away a lot of goals. They're giving away a lot of goals, you know, a lot of mistakes there with players playing out of position. I'm sure Paul will get it right, but he needs the people who are injured back.
All right, well, the other game in the Premier Division this weekend was the meeting of UCD and Sligo at the Belfield Bowl on Friday night. Sligo looking for their first win of the season. Eamon Donoghue was there for M&S.